first workshop of the year for 2026. Inviting Doc right here to get on jump on TikTok right here. And today's going to be the workshop we've been promising you from last year. Today's workshop is, have you ever felt like you're a man not reaching your potential? Today's the day we're going to take that governor off, right? As you can see from my background right here, the we're taking off the governor and reclaiming eternal authority for men. If you're watching this on TikTok, YouTube, stuff, you can actually have your questions answered. And we're gonna be going because I'm gonna be sharing my screen at the same time while Doc is commentating on the stuff. Doc, how you been? How's everything? How's your week been?
I'm great. I'm great. You know, yeah. Don't let the thinking face fool you guys. Yeah, but no, I'm great. Yeah, the week's been great. Yeah, the week's been great. Yeah, I can't complain. Everything's good. I have a lot of different ideas and things going on. Starting to release videos again on the channel. Building. It's been really good. It's been really good.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. By the way, guys, my if you haven't noticed, my name is Gordon Watt. I'm co-founder with Doc right here, my partner in collaboration, co-host. I'm Gordon Watt from Boundaries and Brotherhood. I want to welcome you to the channel. 2026 is the year. For the next 12 months. We'll be having workshops like this in between our content so that you can have a better life, at least quarter to quarterly. If you want to work with Doc specifically as a professional level, we do have that option also. By what, Doc, while we get it all set up, what are we going to be covering over this workshop while I get our slides ready? Guys, if you're watching this on TikTok, on YouTube, it's going to be live. So if we make a mistake, that happens. But as the professionals we are, we're going to be able to show you that we can overcome these things. Doc, let them know.
So, guys, so today we're going to be going over one of the pillars of the Sovereign Man program. We're going to be going over the pillar of self-worth. So in this workshop, we're going to be talking about, what self-worth is and what it's not. We're going to talk about some of the traps that keep us from really knowing what our worth really is, and then we're also going to be talking about how we can change how we think and how we move in order to reclaim our self-worth, reclaim our power, and start becoming the man that we're supposed to be. So that's what this workshop is going to be for.
Beautiful, beautiful. If you guys have any questions, if you're watching this on, like I said, YouTube, put your questions. If you're watching this on Facebook, put your questions. If you're watching this on TikTok, head on over to YouTube, get your questions answered to see the full video on what we got going on. Doc, I'm going to share my screen right now, right?
All right.
And then we're gonna get right into this because watch this. This is how slick we're going to get. I told you production level has pumped up for us. And we're going to be doing this. Doc, let them know what we're doing. And you just say shift. And I'll just point the clicker. Guys, go for it, Doc.
All right. So, guys, welcome everyone to this workshop, right? So the name of this workshop is Taking the Governor Off. Right. And the reason why it's named that, and we'll go into that in a second, but the reason why it's named that is because a lot of times we as men, we put our own restrictions on ourselves. And a lot of times that's tied to how we think and how we try to get validation, how we try to get love and things along those lines. And so then as a result, we start doing things and hindering ourselves and giving power away and all these things like that in order to achieve this goal, which only puts us further and further away. And so in this workshop, again, we're going to be talking about how to reclaim yourself, how to change that inner voice within you, how to start getting that self-worth back and that power back, because that's the foundation of everything, right? If you're going to be making any type of progress in life, you must know who you are first. Know your value, know your worth. You got to know that first, because otherwise you're going to be waiting for other people to tell you how valuable you are. You're going to be waiting for other people to feed you and give you the validation and things along those lines. And then I heard a line that I love. It says, if you give someone permission to feed you, you also give them permission to starve you. And the fact of the matter is, we don't have to live like that. Your worth and your value doesn't have to be tied to what someone does or does not do. So we're going to be talking about that as we go through this workshop.
No, absolutely. This is a real live workshop, guys. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're going to head on over to Boundaries and Brother, we are live right now. Guys, This workshop is going to be able to help you master your inner critic and get over the tiring self-doubt and reaching your goals. Discover powerful strategies and how to quiet that inner critic that all of us have. And this is why Taking Off the Governor was the title of it, because a lot of you, including myself, including Doc, at one point in our life, we were born a V12 turbolized engine, but we stuck our governors on just because of whatever reasons. We want to help you go through that, and that's what we're going to go through right now. And if you want a copy of this PDF, please message us, leave a comment, PDF message on any of the social media platforms, and we'll get it to you.
All right. Let's go on to the next one.
Yes, sir. I mean, guys, this is how, boop, talk about it.
I love these slides, by the way. Absolutely love these slides. So here's a V12 engine, right? And for anyone who's a car person, they'll say, "Oh, it should be bigger." Don't worry about that. Don't miss the plot, right? Because so I might look at it and be like, "Oh, look at the headers. There should be one for each one." Don't miss the plot. All right. This is exactly what Gordon was talking about. When we're born with infinite potential, right? We can do anything we want to do. Obviously based off of, we're not going to get into that, but long story short, we can do anything we want to do, right? Kids dream, they imagine all these things. But then what ends up happening is we come through life, and I don't want to get ahead of myself because we already have a slide that's going to go deeper into this. But long story short, what happens is there are certain things that are placed on us, certain things that we take on ourselves that create what's called a governor, right? And if anyone car people know, a governor is something that limits how fast you can go. No matter how much power you have in that engine, the governor says, yeah, no, you're only going 55 miles an hour. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how much you push down on that metal. Doesn't matter what kind of gas you have in the tank. None of that stuff matters. The governor, which is your inner critic, says you will not go past this point. And sometimes we look at that as, oh, well, I'm not good enough, or whatever the case may be, or I just, whatever. We'll come up with different reasons, or the critic will come up with different reasons to why you're not good enough. And we'll start sabotaging ourselves. And we'll create these limiting beliefs that keep us from actually being our full potential. And so this is kind of what that looks like. So a V12 engine has all this power, and this one has actually the turbos on and everything. That's actually pretty cool. And so it has all this power, all this potential. It probably could push out over 1,000 horsepower, right? And the governor says, yeah, no, you're not going beyond this point. And that's the issue that many of us as men have. All this potential to be great husbands, great business owners, great in the gym, great in every area. But we have these governors that say, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Now, for some of you that understand what Doc is saying, some of you have so much potential, but you haven't even reached it. And it's something that Doc has said, because sometimes the ego might be bigger than the cash you can check, bigger than the check you can cash. But somewhere along the line, you got to figure out that what me and Doc have been doing for the past year in 2025 with what we got going on now is we're going to show you how to unleash that full potential so that you can be the 11th man, the sovereign man, the confident man, the one that lives on purpose, the one that can really command the room and command the respect that you truly deserve. Because this is not all hype, guys. From what therapeutic wise, from what Doc has, to my insights from being in so many different situations and still barely living and alive, right? This is where we get to show you how you can do it yourself. Let's go to the Doc. You want to talk about this slide, anything?
Anymore? Yeah, no, we're good on that one. We'll go to the next one.
Okay. Let me get over here. There you go.
All right, so before we talk about where that inner critic comes from, we first have to talk about the distinction between worth and self-esteem, right? And there is a difference between worth and self-esteem, because our worth that's our inherent value, right? When you are born, that's what you have. Like, as a human being, the value you have, you don't have to work for it. It doesn't go up and down. It stays 100% the same. It's the reason why your life has value. When someone said we should protect your life, we should protect life, because we have inherent worth, right? And that's something we have to make sure we understand. You can't work for that. You can't build that up. Like it says right here, that's your inherent value. That's the ground floor, right? That's the foundation. Now, self-esteem, how you feel about yourself, a lot of times that's tied to what we're doing, right? Like performative, right? Like for instance, Gordon, I think it was last week we were doing it, and the live stream, and I was like, I don't think I was my best self, I think I was all over the place, things like that, right? Self-esteem kind of took a hit because it's based on performance. But then there's other times when I'm like, yeah, I nailed that, killed it, right? Self-esteem's through the roof, right? So that can go up and down. That's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because a lot of times it's kind of based off performance. But again, a self-worth, though, even though I might have made a mistake in the previous live stream, at least in my opinion, right? My value and worth didn't go anywhere. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid, I'm so horrible, I'm so dumb. Everyone's gonna hate me. Like it wasn't like that. It was just something as simple as, man, I probably should have had my thoughts more together at that point, but I'll get it back next time, right? So it's a very big distinction between that. I think it's really important for us to understand that distinction, because when they conflate the two, which is very dangerous, you start tearing yourself apart. And when you start tearing yourself apart because you make a mistake, because you weren't perfect, because something went wrong, you start tearing yourself apart. That's not what we're supposed to do. And you ever think about it almost like, I'll give you a quick example, like in football, right? One of the things they say as a quarterback, if you throw an interception, you got to forget that play, move on to the next. But if you are tying your self-worth and your in self-esteem, you're tying them up together. So, oh my gosh, I'm the worst guy ever. Oh man, how could I do that? I'm so stupid. Oh, I can't believe that. Oh, I don't even know why I'm here. See, now everybody knows I'm so horrible. And you start tearing yourself apart, when it's something as simple as, okay, I just made a mistake. It doesn't mean I am a mistake. I just made a mistake. I can go back and do it better next time, And so it's important to make sure we have the distinction.
So let me ask you this, Doc, for the viewers, if you guys are on TikTok, you can go over to Boundaries and Brotherhood live, get all the slides, get everything, get your questions answered, get everything done so that you see the full slides. As you can see, we are doing a workshop. Doc, let me ask you this. How do you distinguish both of them, and how do you, I know there's no quick fix, but how could someone watching this workshop fix it so that they can move on to working towards a better them?
So I think you have to adopt some foundational truths first and foremost, right?
That's big.
You cannot improve your self-worth, right? That is a foundational truth that does not change. You cannot improve your self-worth. It is what it is. It's already at the highest level. It's maxed out. It's at 100%. You can't work more to improve it. You can't dress better. You can't lose weight. You can't get more muscles. You can't, get more women. Like nothing you do will improve your self-worth. It won't, right?
Okay.
As far as self-esteem is concerned, you can do things to improve your self-esteem, like getting more muscles, like making more money, like having a woman, like doing that. That stuff does improve our self-esteem. I'm not going to sit up here and lie and say, oh, I feel my self-esteem is just as high when I have a belly and a gut, as when I got six-pack abs. No, it's not. I look in the mirror, I'm like, dang, I let myself go. I need to improve. However, I need to improve. As far as my body's concerned, that doesn't change my self-worth. That doesn't change my value. And even, Gordon, to that question, I'll even share, a personal story real quick. During the pandemic, I was actually at my highest and worst weight. It was bad, like belly hanging out, rolls, everything like that. But the crazy part is I still love myself. Like I identified my worth, my value, my worth was not tied up into whether I looked good or not. Because if that was the case, when I was 19 years old in the best shape of my life with abs and muscles and strength and all that stuff like that and speed, and it's like I was hitting all cylinders, I still didn't like myself. So
big difference, huh?
Big difference. You look at that dichotomy, of those two things, and it's like, your worth, my worth and value cannot be tied up into anything external or anything like that. So it doesn't change. Right. But my self-esteem, I can't improve that by doing things that make me feel good or things that I value, like being athletic. I value being athletic. So if I'm running and getting tired after 2 minutes, my self-esteem is like, dang, I need to step it up. But I don't beat myself up, right? I just improve. I just get better. And so that though you have to really to start making those changes, you really have to just understand those foundational truths. My self-worth, it cannot improve. It's already at 100%. I have to accept that as a truth. And my self-esteem is based on my performance. It has nothing to do with the self-worth and value. It's just, okay, how can I improve to be better? And as I improve and become better, I will feel better about myself. But if I continue to allow myself to degrade and do worse, I'm not going to feel so good about myself. But it's really not even about yourself. Maybe I'm not using the right verbiage, but it's really about your situation. It's about the
Oh,
situation that
deep.
you're in,
Yeah,
not
deep.
even about you. I don't feel good about that situation. I don't feel good about having an extra 30, 40 pounds on me. I don't feel good about having, not being able to run as fast. I don't feel good about having my bank account be low. I don't feel good about having that. So I'm just going to do something to change that situation. But as far as me, my worth and value, it's not tied to that. So whether I'm broke or whether I'm, rich or whether I'm in the best shape or in the worst shape, my worth does not change at all.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
I like the distinct. I love the distinguished. I love the distinction between all of that, because there is an inherent difference between it all, and most
Mhm.
people kind of get convolute the whole thing. Now,
Yeah.
from a self-led man's point, taking control of life's direction, right? Let's go to the next one, right?
Mhm.
How does the developmental window, right, guys? If you're seeing on this step, if you guys want to see this, go on to YouTube. We're streaming it live. How does this slide perform for them specifically?
So this is where, and this is why I didn't want to go get ahead of myself with the engine one, because this is where the governor is formed, right?
Hmm.
The governor
Okay.
is formed between 0 to 10 years old. And the reason why it's 0 to 10 years old, because that's when your beliefs are formed. Almost all of your beliefs are going to govern the rest of your life. 95% of them are formed in this window. So a majority of how you're going to be is established before you can even recognize, what's going on in the world, right? So it's really critical to understand that a lot of these limitations that we have been placed on us, we've learned from the different interactions. As you can see here, there is a point in time where we start learning that we can only get attention and love we perform. Because you think about it as a baby, right? Babies, they don't have to do anything to be loved, right? Again, their worth and values already at that, it's 100%, right? And so, we love them, we kiss them, they don't do anything, they poop, they pee, they knock stuff down. All we do is smile and kiss them and love them, completely love them unconditional, all that stuff like that. They get the same reaction. But then they start getting a little bit older. And then it's crazy because we don't even recognize this, right? But they start getting older, and our reactions, they have to work harder to get the same reaction. So
Oh, yeah.
them just being themselves and smiling, it's not enough anymore. Now they have to crawl. Now they have to walk. Now you have to play sports. Now you have to get good grades. Now you have to keep your room clean. Now you have to do this. And so unintentionally, what we teach our children is that in order for you to receive the love and attention and affection, acceptance, you now have to perform. And again, we do this unintentionally, but this is exactly what happens because, again, the kids are trying to understand the world, right?
Yes.
Kids are self-centered. I'm not talking about in a bad way, but they have to be, because it's like, okay, I'll think of it like this. You get a new job and you're training. Your thought is not on everybody else, and how your thought is, okay, I got to make sure I have all the information I need to do this job properly. And so kids, in order for them, how do I operate in this world? How do I operate in my family? How do I operate at school? How do I operate in the community? The only way I'm going to be able to know is if I'm taking cues from the outside world. Oh, they don't like
Mm.
that, so I'm going to do that. Oh, I was being creative. Oh, I got shut down. Oh, I have something on my mind and a great idea. Oh, I shouldn't be talking in class. And we start getting all of these messages that shut parts of us down, and they shut us down, and they shut us down. And if you ever worked in the school system and you see how kids can change over the years, especially when they hit third grade, I've seen it. I've worked in the school system and I've seen kids coming from kindergarten to third grade, and you see how the light in their eyes gets snuffed out. You
Oh,
see how their creativity, the joy, the love, all it gets snuffed out, because now it's like, okay, well, I guess this is the world we're living in, right? I can't be creative. I can't be myself. I can't speak my mind. I'm now I'm ADHD, or now I have this, or now I have that, and now I have all these things. And then now we put the governor on, right? And that's all
Oh,
in
that's
this
what
forge right
deep.
here, right? And
Yeah.
so now we have learned that, okay, in order for me to get any kind of attention at all, any kind of love, any kind of anything, I have to perform. And once I perform and we just continue to give the cookie, we continue to give it, and we continue to give it, you're right. Oh, yeah, you did great. Yeah, you did great. Yeah, you did great. And that's where I'm going to look. And then what do we do when our kids mess up? Oh my gosh, how could you do it? And we start lecturing them, right? So now it's like, dang, I'm getting lectured, or I'm getting beat, or anything like that. Instead of being taught, instead of someone saying, hey, where'd you fall short? Let me teach you. No, you should know it already. And so all of these hits we take over 10 years, eventually that governor is formed. And now for the rest of our life, we don't move beyond that. And there's many of us as men who are stuck in the same space we were when we were 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, 10 years old, 15 years old. We're stuck in that same place. And you'll see that when you'll start to see men become emotionally unstable, right? And they'll start acting like a teenager, saying things or being petty and things like that. It's like, bro, you a whole grown man with a business and all this stuff like that. But you revert right back to that same age. That's because
Ah,
that's when the governor
yeah.
was formed. So you go
Right,
right
right, right.
back. You can't go past that. So you get stuck at that same spot. And that's where that happens, that how we get stuck. So that's what this is, the identity kiln. That's where this comes from. That's where your identity is formed, where the governor is formed, and where a lot of us get stuck. And then we have this mentality of, well, just be a man and push on through. Well, how has it been working for you? You've been divorced, you're separated from your kids, or you don't have a relationship with your kids. You're always getting into with other people. You're always trying, no matter how high you climb in your company, no matter how far you go, how much money you make, you still don't love yourself. You still think it's not enough. You still are looking at, well, other people are doing better. No matter how much effort you put out. So you have to ask you the question, how is it working, just trying to push through and keep moving forward? Feeling like you're alone, feeling like nobody cares, feeling like you have no value or no worth. Like it doesn't work, and we know it doesn't work. So
So let me ask you that. Let me ask you this and see have some clarification, since this is like a workshop type style, right?
mhm.
Now, if when life throws you challenges and everything comes about, the societal expectations, like you said, for what you have going on, how could someone fix it and do some small things so that they're not in that same situation tomorrow, or then right after you leave this video workshop?
Well, the one of the first things you definitely want is you want to start challenging the inner critic. And maybe or maybe we're getting ahead. Hopefully we're not getting ahead. You know, but that's one of the things. I'll say this. There probably is a slide that's going to talk about that. I almost guarantee there's a slide that's going to talk about that. But
Okay.
so I won't go too far into it. But long story short, there's an inner critic we have, that was built when this governor was built, right? Think
Okay.
of it as think of the inner critic as the guard for the governor. The inner critic's job is to make sure that governor stays in place, right? And let me also say this: a lot of times when these things are formed, they're formed as a survival tactic. This is how I
Oh,
survive
okay.
at home.
Understand
This
the
is how I
survival
survive
tactic.
in school. This is how I survive, right? And the problem is, it works. That inner critic worked at one time, right? Because the
Okay.
inner critic's like, oh my gosh, you need to work harder. You're garbage. Da, da, da. No one's gonna like if you don't work harder. So you work harder, and then you get some of the accolades or whatnot, and it feels good for a small moment. But then all of a sudden, it goes away, because we know external validation does not feel anything, right? So that's something that's important to understand. But we got to understand and focus on that inner critic and recognize that that's the person we got to beat. That
Oh,
voice in our
that's
head that's saying, that can protecting the governor, that's protecting those limiting beliefs. That's when we got to be. And one of the first
right.
things you got to do is identify that is what's going on. There's a thought in my head. There's a person in my head that is coming against me in a way that's destructive. And maybe at one point in time it kept me safe, but now it's destructive. It's destroying my marriage. It's destroying my health. It's destroying my relationship with my kids. It's destroying my business. It's destroying my connection with other people. I no longer want this critic to have any power or control over my life. So the very first thing you want to do is make sure you can identify that voice, and that's not my voice. That is not me. That is not what I believe. And then the second thing you want to do is you want to start challenging that voice. You know, you want to say, hey, is that really true? Yeah, nobody loves you. Nobody cares. Is that true? You know, my wife loves me. My kids love me. This person loves me. That person loves me. Because the fact of the matter is, from the inner critic, you challenge the inner critic, and you truly challenge the inner critic with real evidence. You know, and that's the thing. Don't look for evidence to support the inner critic. It is not your friend. The inner critic can say, oh my gosh, you're garbage. Don't be like, yeah, I know, because I didn't do this, and I didn't do that, and I could have done this better, I could have done that better, and all these things like that. That you're not doing yourself any favors by siding with the inner critic. The inner critic is your enemy. You need to understand the inner critic is your enemy. It's not your friend. You are at war with that inner critic. So you need to go to war with the inner critic and an ally to yourself. And then you need to challenge it like, no, people do love me. No, I am a good worker. No, I don't have to work to get value. No, yeah, I made a mistake, but everybody makes mistakes. That's not a problem. Like, no one's going to be perfect. Like, that's how you want to fight against that inner critic, right?
Okay.
So it's critical. So I would say those two things, you know, identify that and be able to fight against it. And keynote, not in your head. You will not win that war in your head. The inner critic, that is its playing field. You have to do it out loud. I know it might feel weird. I know it might feel strange. You got to do it out loud. Because when you do it out loud, it shuts it down. And the more you spend time talking, beating up the inner critic, you know, the less time it's going to have to try to reinforce its arguments and things like that. So it's critical that we get into this mode of making sure we speak back to it and speak out loud. We don't stop until it's silenced.
Nice. Like, guys, we have a workbook, a worksheet that we can work through that can change and help you challenge that inner critic, because it's got to be dealt on emotions, your belief, where it came from, how you're going to challenge it so you can reframe it, so you can look at life and yourself from a different viewpoint. Because a lot of the times you don't understand that some of these beliefs were passed on from, say, your grandfather's self, and you're reliving them from their trauma. What if we could challenge all of that through a workshop, through our course, not a course, but they say hands-on approach, by going to assessment.boundariesandbrotherhood.com so you can get the assessment, so we can start working with you one-on-one or as a group. Because that's why we made this group for, because we want to see you elevate to a situation where you can implement your personal plan to see things so you can better intimacy with your wife, better relationship with your kids, have the boundaries that you deserve from your coworkers and people that just might be draining your energy, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna go with this one, that the performance prison. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. This probably, you know, has the highest incarceration rate in the world. Probably. You know, I don't know of any country in the world that imprisons as many people, you know, as the performance prison. And the performance prison is just as the screen says right there. I'm only valuable if I succeed. My only value, my worth is tied to what I can provide. This is destroying men in droves, right? Huge. Because you hear it all the time. Like, you know what? I work so hard and I give so much and I sacrifice so much and I'm doing all this and I'm doing all that and it's not working. And it's like, yeah, that's the problem, because what you're trying to do, it doesn't work for something that's already maxed out.
I've done it.
You're trying to work for things that you can't get by working, right? I'm not telling people not to work. I'm not telling people not to succeed. And like the picture, yeah, get the degrees, get the trophies, get the accolades, you know, serve your community, all those things. I'm not saying not to do that stuff. But just know that that's not going to fill that gap of that self-worth that you have. It's not.
For the right reasons.
No matter what you do, no matter how hard you work, no matter how many accolades you get or how many degrees, it does not work. And this is coming from someone who has 3 degrees, bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degree. And I guess 4 if you kind of associate, you know, it doesn't work. I did not feel like, oh my gosh, now I'm really the man, because I got a master's degree or a doctorate degree or a license, and that's another thing too. I got licenses and with, I'm accredited, supervisor and all these things like that. It did absolutely nothing to my worth. Why didn't it do nothing to my worth? Because your worth is not something you can earn. It's something you already have.
Right. I was just about to say, yep.
You just have to accept it, right? I
I mean,
understand that we're taught the lies of that, oh, man, you got to work for it. And, and men don't get love and they got to work for love. And it's a workshop, Keith. Professional.
Doc is going off. I told you. This is how passionate it is. But
go ahead. No, go ahead, Gordon, because
he was about to go off. But here's the situation, right, guys? Perfectionism. It's good to strive for things that you want in life and stuff to say, but you have to have the right reasons. It has to be something that you internalize for yourself, because if you're going to use these accolades to perform, like say you want the big company, you want to be on the Forbes 500 list, but you're a wreck at home and you can't hold a sustainable relationship, not just with your kids, your wife, and everybody else, because I used to be that person, right? Because you could have everything materialistic, everything that you could ever want, but all was for what? Covering up my imperfection and flaws to get the attention from people that really didn't matter. Now you speed that up to today's world with me, my kids, my wife, and everything. My biggest flex is me handling situations with a specific calm, with a specific thing, and it's like, and a leadership role that you can't get. Does it come from experience? It comes from the crap you've been through that you don't give yourself enough power for, right? When performance is a tied to identity, like the schedule, failure creates an existential threat, right? Because now it's ego, right? Then you say it's things, then it's something, and it's not just a mistake, like Doc said. It's something that will destroy you, and by the time you figure it out, it'll be too late, because by that time you have lived more life on this earth accomplishing the worthless things versus remaining what you have left over. Ooh, that was kind of deep.
And now I want to add to this as well, is that when it says it's annihilation of self, because here's the thing, we don't look at, because the difference between guilt and shame, because this performance prison, when you're in it, you're generating a lot of shame because you're tying your worth to what you do or what you provide. And when you do that and it's not enough and it's not working, that means you're worthless, right? I mean, think about it. If I'm paying you monopoly money and I'm giving you hundreds and thousands of dollars of monopoly money and I'm not getting anything for it, and I'm thinking this is the best I got, then guess what? Then my effort was worthless, right? So 100%. Then it builds shame, and then that shame sits there and we don't talk about it, and it builds and it builds and it builds. And we start tearing ourselves down and tearing ourselves apart. And then we start thinking, crazy things. And think like, I don't want to be here anymore. Nobody cares about me, or nobody loves me, or my efforts are useless or worthless, and things like that. So this is a really dangerous place to be, this performance prison, because the fact of the matter is, and this is something that's critically important to understand as well, kind of what Gordon was saying, ask yourself the question, why am I doing this thing? Am I doing it for the pure reason, like I really want to make this company better, I really want to make my marriage better, I really want to make my kids better, like that's the reason? Or am I doing this because I'm trying to feel better about myself? I'm trying to improve my self-worth. And I'll be honest, there are a lot of men in positions, like leadership positions and things like that, that are not there for the betterment of the company. They're not there for the betterment of the school. They're not there for the betterment of the business. They're there because they're trying to fill the void of self-worth. And you see it show up. When someone comes along and they're better than you, you start having an attitude. You start having a problem. You don't like it. You're trying to squelch them. You don't want anyone to be better than, like, you start doing that, right? Because now it's like, oh, someone's coming to take my spot. If I lose my spot, I lose my worth. If I lose my worth, no one's going to love me. No one's going to care about me. I'm going to be rejected. So now I'm going to do everything in my power to bully someone, to push them down, to get them aside, so that, and I'm going to be a alpha, right? That's what I'm going to call it. And you're not. It's actually, you're being weak because you're scared that someone's going to take away your self-worth. But if you just understood the fact that no one can take your self-worth, and you recognize that, hey, I'm here to build everyone up around me, and it is a joy and a pleasure and an honor to mentor people and support people and have them rise above me and have them do
Absolutely.
better. Like that's the whole like part of legacy, which we'll get that to that way, way, way down the line. We're nowhere near that yet. But I'm just saying, you have to ask yourself that question: why am I actually doing this thing? Why am I sacrificing all this and sacrificing myself and put myself on the back burner and all those things like that? And the first thing you might say, oh, because I love people. Well, newsflash, you don't have to sacrifice yourself to show someone you love them. You don't have to kill yourself and lose out on the things you love and care about and lose yourself and lose your identity to show someone you love them. You don't have to do that. I've been married for 19 years, going on 20. I've never had to lose myself to show my wife I love her. I never had to sacrifice, parts of who I am to show my wife or my kids that I love them. Like that can exist at the same time. So again, ask yourself that question: why am I doing this? And if your answer is anything other than, hey, I want to actually add value to these people, like if it's anything other than that, then the chances are you're probably stuck in this prison.
Nope. Yep. All right. Let's go. I mean, let's talk about this one. Some survival strategies identifying the mask.
Right. So we know as men, we wear masks, and I love these. And these aren't all of them as well, but these are probably some of
No.
the main ones that you guys have probably heard about or seen or see, or you can identify with, right? You have again, you have the clown mask where it says here, like the guy that makes jokes and everything's light. And, when you turn things around and listen, I'm all for making jokes. I'm all for sarcasm and things like that. But again, why am I doing it? I do it because that's just part of who I am. I like making jokes. It's funny, things like that, right? Dad jokes too. Love dad jokes, right? But there are many people who do that to deflect, so you can't see that I have some type of issue or some type of problem, or you can't really see. I'm not going to let you see that I'm not worth anything. I'm not valuable, right? So I put all these things out here like this, right? And so then you have that mask, So again, it's to help distract people from actually seeing you as you are. Then you have the soldier, right? This is where a lot of men, right? And all the ones that claim alpha and all this stuff. Yeah, I'm a go-getter and I'm ambitious and I'm, making all this money and building all these businesses. And, look at me, look how successful I am. Look at my six-pack abs and all these things like that, right? It's a soldier. Like everything's based off getting the job done and the mission and being stoic and not having any emotions and all those things like that. You would put that mask on, but behind closed doors, inside, internally, we're dying on the inside. We just want someone to say, hey, it's okay, man. Take the armor off. It's good. Like you're good, right? It's okay to break down right now. It's okay to cry. It's okay to hurt. You've been through a lot, right? But the soldier keeps soldiering on, right? You fix your face, you keep pushing, don't be weak, don't have emotions. There's that mask there. Then you have the martyr, right? This is the one that's I'm sacrificing myself and giving myself, for everybody. And I'm not going to have any needs. And I'm not going to ask for any help. And, I'm going to just give everything up for everybody else, because I'm just so loving and caring. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But then when you don't get that, right, it's
What
a
happens?
problem. When your wife isn't sleeping with you, it's a problem. When you're not getting the love, it's a problem. When no one's giving you gratitude and stuff like that, it's a problem. When like all these things, right? Like, I want you to think of it like this, right? Jesus Christ was on the cross and he was dying. He didn't say, oh, wait a second, why aren't you guys like loving me right now? No, I'm not doing this. I'm coming off the cross. No, he didn't do that, right? He didn't do that, right? He had a mission in mind. Like I was saying in the last slide, the mission wasn't about that. He wasn't trying to get validation from anybody else. Even as they ridiculed him, he wasn't trying to get validation or anything like that. So even though they were ridiculing him, he was like, it's okay. I'm not doing it for that anyways. I have a bigger mission, a bigger purpose. But a lot of times when we martyr, and this is really bad for nice guys, do this heavily. And then again, because I used to be one, and then you get mad when you don't get the things back in return. So you're not even doing it, with a good intentions in mind. It's like I'm trying to get that worth for myself. And the idea is if I sacrifice myself, that means I'm finally gonna be worthy for something. And then when it doesn't come, which it doesn't come, right, then it's a problem. Or when it does come, it's not enough. Well, don't you know how much I gave up? You should give up the same. And it's like, well, how do you even measure that out? And so and they work, all these work, right? This works in school. You be the jokester. No one's going to make fun of you. No one's going to ask questions. You're just the funny guy, right? No one's going to look at to see your self-worth that you think is low. As the soldier, you're performative, right? You get things done. You lead the way. You get the victory. You do all that stuff. You get the accolades. They put you on your shoulders and they run around with you, right? So there's that aspect as well. So that works when we're younger. And the martyr, you're the nice guy. Oh my gosh, you're the one that gets put in the friend zone a lot. You're the one. People, it's true, and you're the one who, people will, they'll ask you for stuff and you'll always be doing for everybody else. And whenever anyone tries to pour into you, no. I don't need anything. I can handle anything by myself, but you're dying on the inside. So these things work when you're younger. They just don't work when you're older. And that's why when we're wearing these masks as adults, we have so many different issues. And instead of solving them, we go into echo chambers where they just reinforce these own fallacies, these own issues, these own problems, instead of addressing and being like, no, I'm meant for more. I don't have to hide that. And I already have my self-worth. So,
yeah, absolutely. Because like once you start getting into an echo chamber and doing all this other good stuff, this is where we want to take you out of. This is why you see this link below right here. It's assessment.boundariesandbrotherhood.com. So you can take that. It's a free assessment. Look at, in fact, this way I'll show you the page after. This way you can figure out where you stand and see if you want more help with us from us or not. The assessment is free. Usually it costs some money. Figure something that you can work something for yourself, not in a month, maybe a year, maybe a quarter, maybe 6 months, something that you can do for yourself right now. Just go head on over to assessment.boundariesandbrotherhood.com and fill it out. Check the page out. We're going to go to the next slide, Doc.
All right. And guys, I know I've been pretty verbose, and for the sake of time, I'm probably going to try to keep it a little bit shorter, to hit the things to make sure we get through everything. I don't want to leave you guys out, right? Or leave anything out for you guys. So the external validation trap, guys, is as simple as this. You're trying to fill a hole that cannot be filled with external validation and doing things, and it doesn't work. You're seeking after it, and even when you get it, it's not enough. No matter how many compliments you get, it's not enough. No matter how many great jobs or attaboys you get, it's not enough. No matter how many people show up for you, it's not enough, right? You still feel empty. No matter how much you give, it's not enough, right? Because external validation cannot fill something that internal validation is designed to do, right? External validation is like water, right? We need water. It's nice to have. That's not going to fit. It's not going to serve the purpose that we need, right? Internal validation, when you know for yourself, this is who I am. I know my worth. I know my value. I have my boundaries, and I protect that stuff. And I know how I want to be treated, and I walk in that. That's the only way you're going to be able to walk as far as that's concerned. When you have that internal validation from yourself, that's the most powerful voice you have, right? The value that you're giving yourself. And so, as it says here, the external validation might give you a quick little boost, might feel good for the moment, but it doesn't last. But internal validation, that's eternal. That will go on forever. So that's what we need to be making sure we give ourselves that, and not keep seeking these little breadcrumbs of external validation. Think of it like this, external validation is like the icing on the cake, right? But if there's no cake, and internal validation is the cake. If there's no internal validation, then no matter how much icing you have, it's useless, right? External validation should be validating what you experience internally, right? That's what it does. I'm validating what you believe internally already. So that's why outside of that, it doesn't work. You have to believe it inside yourself first, and then the external validation, that will tie in. That will work. That will make you feel good. Again, might boost your self-esteem to some degree, right? But you really got to focus on getting the internal validation from yourself, knowing yourself, who you are, and what your value is and what your worth is, instead of seeking outside validation.
Guys, if you want to see the slides that's going on here and from TikTok, that's where you have to go to the channel, boundariesandbrotherhood.com. Where you can see the slides in the background. I do have the slides in the back here, but I know it's hard to see. But if you want to go over to boundariesandbrotherhood.com and see the slides. This way you can see what we're talking about. You kind of see it all. Doc, how important is it to understand the external validation trap? Because a lot of us fall into that trap, whether it's outside sources, ego, you mean all this other good stuff, pride, dementia, the damaging effect of having that, sleeping with other women just to feel good about yourself. There's some other examples.
Mm-hmm.
How does it affect us moving forward? How can we change that?
Well, I mean, it affects us because, again, when you're sitting with yourself and you're looking at your life and you see that you're not satisfied, you see that you're not making connections, you see that, all the things that matter the most to you are not panning out, right? And it's not the
Mm,
external stuff. You have to understand that, well, yeah, because that stuff, that's all decorative, that's all nice, but it doesn't do anything for you, right? You wouldn't buy furniture for a house you don't have. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't buy tires for a car you don't have. But that's what we're doing. You need to look at it like that, right? The external validation, that's just extra. It's nice, but it's just extra. It has no
I like
value
that.
at all outside of, validating what is inside of you. So if you don't believe it, if you don't believe that it's yours, because how many times have we as men, oh my gosh, you're so great, man. Thank you so much. Da, da, da. No, it's nothing. I'm not that big of a deal. Blah, blah, blah. That's not humility. That's self-deprecation, right? Because someone says I did a good job and I know I did a good job. Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. No, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that important. It's not that. That's self-degradation. Like that doesn't, that's not good. So long story short, as far as it being damaging, it can be very damaging. That's why we got to make sure it's the internal validation we look at, not the external validation. You know,
All right.
it's
That
like,
brings us to our next one.
yeah, which
What are
is a
some
great
of the
segment.
warning signs?
Chronic dissatisfaction. That's a big one, right? No matter how much success you get, it doesn't work. It doesn't do anything for you. Maybe you feel good for a little bit, but then it's like, okay, here's another one: diminishing returns, right? You get more, you keep going and doing more, but no matter how much more you get, no matter how much more money you make, no matter how much more progress you make, you get it feels less and less and less and less, right? Something else is you start outsourcing, I know the power outsourcing. Everyone else is the problem. If my wife would do this, or if my kids would just act right, or the boss, or the government, or this or that, you spend a lot of time blaming other people, complaining about other people, and things like that. As far as the emotion withdrawal, especially if we don't express our emotions as it is, we start pulling back even more because it feels like, well, nothing I'm doing is mattering, right? So then
That's deep. Yep.
why would I continue to kind of pour out or open up, or I don't want to be hurt, or whatever the case may be? These are some of the warning signs of that, right? If you another warning sign that's not on here is kind of what I was saying before. If you're doing something and you're expecting all this, adulation, all this love and all this stuff to come back, as a result of you doing it, if your intentions aren't pure, that's also another sign. Why am I doing this? That's a very big sign. So in stopping to ask yourself these questions, it's going to be really critical as well. Like, why am I doing this? Why do I keep sacrificing myself? Why do I keep blaming everybody else instead of taking control over my own life? Why am I doing these objectives and things like that? Am I really doing it for the betterment of mankind and my family and everything like that? Or am I just trying to fill a hole in myself that can't be filled that way? Asking
Nice.
yourself those questions, really stopping to do that, it's going to go a long way so you can recognize patterns and start changing them.
Yeah, but recognizing patterns in yourself and in other people that say you can change. The smartest person is going to be the person that learns from other people's mistakes. I used to say that, but I didn't even do it myself. So I made big mistakes in my life. But now I look at other people's things, the history, what they're doing, change their behaviors, looking at patterns, looking at things that are going to affect me and move me forward. And recognizing these patterns in other people makes me not want to be that, right? Because it happens. It happens to the best of us. And, like it goes to the next slide, right? This is a big one. It's time to stop being the character in your own story and be the pen, be the author. You mean, Doc,
Yeah.
explain this one, because I know this is one of your favorite quotes.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to this, we again, kind of like we outsource everything else, and everyone else is either the problem, or you look at yourself as you're the problem, that you can't ever do anything right. Right. As you say that, you are creating a story and a narrative in your mind. And it keeps repeating over and over again. And your inner critic is the loudspeaker for it, because they keep saying these things over and over again. And then they will start taking all the negative things in your life and trying to reinforce the story over and over and over again. That's why I said you have to start talking to that inner critic, and fighting it back with actual evidence, right? Actual evidence, because you have to write the story. You have to write the story. You are the author, all right? I hate to say it, but we are the engines of our own either health or destruction, right? Your life is the way it is right now because of the story you're telling yourself. If you're telling yourself I have to work for love, that's why your life is so miserable. If you're telling yourself I'll never be good enough, and then you start looking for evidence for that, you're creating that. You can say, no, Keith, but I was abused. Or no, Keith, you don't understand my wife. Or no, Keith, my parents. Or no, Keith, my culture or my religion, or whatever the case may be. You have the opportunity to change that, because guess what? I guarantee it, there's someone else who's had it worse than you.
Who did
not let their circumstance dictate what they were going to do with their life. It did not let their circumstance say what their worth or their value is. I think I was listening to somebody. I was talking to him, and they were talking about this baseball player, who they said I guess he was just like horrible, and he didn't listen to them. He went on, I guess, to be some great baseballer, Pete something. I don't know. I don't remember what the guy's name was. But long story short, he was able to write that story. And just like the whole inner critic I had, that nobody loves you, nobody cares, all these things like that, I had to start challenging him, and I started writing my own story. And once I started writing my own story and started shutting that stuff down, guess what? He started losing power. And now I'm able to walk in abundance and walk in love and walk in connection and know my worth, because I have the pen. I decide how I want my day to go. I decide how I want to feel. I decide what I think. I don't leave it up to chance. I don't say, well, that's just how I am, or that's just my biology, or it's just my culture, or it's just how it is, or I don't resign myself to anything like that. If I don't like how something's going and it's in my power to change it, I'm going to change it. Then guess what? The thing that I have the absolute most control over in my life is me.
As you.
It's the same thing. You. So if you want the situation to get better, then take the pen out of the inner critic's hand and you start writing the narrative. How you want your life to be better? Write about how it's going to be better. Look for the good. Have more gratitude. Master your emotions. Like, do all these things. Make your life better. As you make your life better, as you make yourself better, because you have the power to do so, and then you're going to see the results. You're going to see the results. Once you start doing that. So you got to take the pen out of the inner critic's hand and you got to start writing the story, right? And that's what's so critical. You got to make sure you do that, right?
Guys, if you're watching this, right, if any of this resonates you, or you can actually say like, oh man, that's what some of the stuff I've been going through and stuff like that. This is why we want to provide you with other tools, other things, other stuff that you could use. We can't do it in an hour and a half, 2 hour synthetic workshop here. We just want to make you aware of it. And there are changes, because we have the products, the services, and everything else that you just have to reach out and take some action. The action that you have to take is going to help you both in a way that you will not even recognize yourself after 3 months, 3 years. Imagine yourself right now. If you don't take any action now, 2026, 2029, you still be the same. And that's unfortunate, but some things like that do happen. And take it from a guy that's done more than 10 plus years in prison, right? Mm-hmm. So if you don't do something now, why not reach out to us? You drop us a note in the assessment, or reach out to Boundaries and Brotherhood at gmail.com. My agency my logo has the pen and the mic on it. That's how much it is. Right. Yeah. Let's go to the next. Right. Talk about this one, Doc.
So talk about strategy, decoupling your identity from your roles, right? It's just so critical. Because we as men, what we do is we are so heavily tied to our roles that we don't even know who we are anymore. You take away all of our roles, father, husband, business owner, whatever, doctor, lawyer, therapist. You take all that away, and then someone says, well, who are you? I don't know. we'll say that because we're so heavily tied to our role. You understand that your role is what you do. Your role describes the job you do. That's it. It doesn't say who you are. Right. Who is the person doing that role? And that's the question you have to ask yourself. Who is the person that is operating in the role of a husband? Who is the person operating in the role as a business professional? Who is the person that's operating in the role of a father? You have to start asking yourself that question, because that's who you are, right? That's who you are.
I wish I could turn that dial.
Yeah.
I want to make me like Tony Stark. I'll make that dial so I can change it into an app. Click, click, click. Okay, what are we gonna find out?
So
but
that's the first thing,
Yeah.
I was just saying that's the first thing you need to do.
100%, because the role you play isn't who you are. It's just the role you play. It's like you acting on, say, a play, a stage, or anything else, and you do juggle different roles: father, husband, baseball coach, teacher, right? CEO, finance guy, everything that you had to do, protector, provider, all this stuff that's in there, and the CEO of your family, right? It does have an overwhelming effect for you at some point in time, but it doesn't attach to who you really are inside, right?
Yeah.
Are you TikTok we went over. Let's go to the next stage, because it's about to, like, what do you call that? TikTok is about to boop. Oh, I'm still alive. I'm still alive.
Okay.
Still alive. I have extended time on the TikTok. Okay, let's do this one. Here, intervention.
All right. So the accomplishment audit, right? So I'm just gonna kind of read right from here, so I don't have to, talk too much. But so you're gonna list at least 50 completed actions, regardless of size. Your brain does not look at the size of what your accomplishment is. It just says, hey, did I get this done? Right? Did I honor my word? Right? And the reason why you want to do this, right? Because it's about follow through again, right? Not magnitude, right? So you're looking for that concrete evidence of who you are, right? That way, when your inner critic is trying to tear you down, oh, you're useless, you're this, you're that, blah, blah, blah. You have this list that says, actually, I'm not. Actually, no, because I showed up for my wife and I show up for my kids and I do this and I do that. And good men do that, right? Good men do that. So I know I'm not all those things that my inner critic is trying to tell me, right? And so when you do this, you're shutting this down, you start revealing the worth that was already there, right? Because right now it's like there's mud on it and you can't necessarily see it. So by you being able to do this and you being able to fight back against that critic, like I was able to do when that critic was telling me nobody loved me, and I said, that's not true. I got people that love me. And I started saying, boom, 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 boom. I started naming these people off. I'm starting to beat up the inner critic with actual positive evidence, right? Because he's not on my side, just like your inner critic is not on your side. So you're looking for positive evidence to beat the inner critic up and tear him down so you can shatter that negative belief and start living life and create a new belief that, no, I already have worth. I am loved. I am enough, right? So this is what this exercise, this intervention would do.
If you want more details on what we're going to provide in some of these exercises, guys, we're almost like what that insurance company. You're going to get a customized approach for what you want, with a little bit sprinkle of what you need, because everything is not the liberty, not the liberty, but one of those commercials that you have to figure out that everybody needs these certain tools and everything else, but it depends what you want, how we can customize the treatment plan or the coaching plan for you, right? Understand that this has to do with a lot of different things, because I wouldn't be here without coaching, counseling, therapy, and everything else. And this is why I'm a big proponent of getting the help that you need to be able to deal with situations that's going on in your daily life right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, look at this.
All right, so narrative reframing. I think this is critical, guys. A lot of times, like, look at this. It says the strategy didn't work, so I'm a failure. No, you're not a failure. The strategy just didn't work, right? It's this, again, decouple it, right? Take who you are and your worth, because that's why a lot of you have shame, because you tie who you are to, oh, it didn't work out. So if it didn't work out and it's bad, that means I'm bad. No, it just didn't work out. You got to separate your mind from that. And when those things come up and the inner critic tries to say that, you say, no, I'm not. It just didn't work out. I just made a mistake. Give you a perfect example. The other day I was on the road and I was trying to get back to the office, and Siri was saying different things. It said, oh, the blue line went this way. Siri was saying, oh, go this road. And then I shifted at the last second, and all these cars were coming and stuff like that. And at first I was like, oh man, I feel bad. Oh, the people, whatever. But you know what I said after? I was like, well, I made a mistake. I didn't understand what it was telling me. It is what it is. Listen to the phrases. I made a mistake, not I am a mistake. I made a mistake.
Big.
And that's extremely important. It's not semantics, right? Or semantics. It's really important to understand that, because guess what? After that, yeah, I still feel a little bit embarrassed and like, but I processed through it. I was like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. Just try to, follow the map a little bit better next time, and I move on. Right. But there wasn't this deep-seated shame afterwards, like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm horrible, or this or that, or anything like that. It's nothing like that. So it's so critical to make sure you ask yourself this question. It says, is this, like, am I failing? Is that true? And then look for evidence to, again, suggest otherwise. No, I'm not a failure. People make mistakes all the time. Strategies don't work sometimes, and it happens across the board. And going back to that reality testing, because a lot of times this inner critic is not basing things in reality. Your inner critic is trying to make it so you're perfect, right? It's impossible to be perfect. We're going to make mistakes, but the inner critic says otherwise. So that's why you have to do some reality testing. Like, no, of course not. People make mistakes all the time. And even check this out. You probably give people grace and mercy when they make mistakes themselves. And you
Absolutely.
tell them, you probably build them up and say, no, you're not a mistake. Hey, it's just not a problem. Hey, just keep it going, brother. You got it, whatever. Just use that same stuff for yourself, right? Use that exact same stuff for yourself. So we really want to start learning how to reframe these thoughts and reframe these situations in ways that, hey, this has been a learning experience, or, hey, hey, I got this from this, or whatever the case may be. You got to reframe it, but never, ever frame it as, oh, I'm this horrible person, or I'm a mistake, or I'm a failure, things like that. Because that's only going to build shame, and it's not going to build you up or help you.
We have workshops exactly for that one complete thing. I have a sheet I've created also. Doc has workbooks. Doc has PDFs that will actually help you change and reframe your thinking instead of you shaming and asking yourself it's true or not. We have these things available to you if you just take the assessment at boundariesandbrotherhood.com and figure out a way how we can get you some help. Because a lot of times it might take a simple shift, right? Intervention number 3, Doc.
All right. So it talks about identity statements, or these are kind of like affirmations, right? And so essentially you're changing how you say certain things about yourself, right? So I use the example here. It says, I'm trying to be honest, right? For one, like Yoda says, do or don't do. There is no try, right? That trying doesn't mean anything, right? You're either doing it or you're not doing it. So either you're going to be honest or you're not going to be honest, right? So, what this does is kind of gives you like an escape route, like, oh, well, I guess I'm not that bad. Oh, things of that, right? You don't want to talk like that. You want to talk in the affirmative. I am a man who honors his word, like it says here. Like, that's who I am. When I think about when I work out, I am an athlete. I don't say I'm trying to be an athlete. No, I am an athlete. So I train like an athlete, right? I am an honest man. I am a faithful man. That is who I am. It's not just it's not what I do. It's what I am. And who you are is going to manifest in your behaviors, right? I mean, the Bible says faith without works is dead, right? You see the faith, right? You see the belief, you see the identity because of the behaviors. So that's why you have to make sure you are nailing that in, that this is who I am, right? And then you live that out. Because when you start repeating that over and over and over again, that's what your brain's going to believe. Because that's how it happened when you were younger. It was things were repeated over and over and over again. And that's how you believe that. So it's the exact same way here. So you destroy the critic, and this is how you create the new belief, right? And here's and I want to touch on this real quick. It says, avoid affirmations that bypass unresolved shame, right? Right. So, and it says anchor statements and behavior, not fantasy, right? What are you actually doing to show that, right? If I feel like I'm an athlete, then I'm going to work out like an athlete. I'm not going to say I'm an athlete and then not work out like an athlete, right? My behavior is going to reaffirm my belief. That's how beliefs work. So if there is shame, that we got to work on that first, right? Not run from it. We got to work on it, put it out in the open, because that's how you work on shame. Shame only thrives in the dark. So when you put it out there and start talking about it and working through it and reframing it and changing it, then all of a sudden now you have your power back. Now you can start saying, I'm a man who honors his word. I'm a man who's faithful. I'm a man who works hard, right? That's who I am. And so you're essentially creating the identity of the man that you want to be, but it's based in reality because of the efforts that you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, what's up, Day? I got my sister-in-law here. I said she's catching me out of it. But here's a lot of the times has to do with a lot of things that you tell yourself. And then once you start telling yourself different things, guess what? Things happen good for a reason, right? The prognosis, freedom, or familiar plan, the myth. Doc, please.
So you have here like freedom or familiar pain, right? So there's the myth that time heals all wounds, and if you've followed us for any period of time, that's a lie. I count that, I call that out all the time. Time does not heal all wounds. That's a huge. I don't know who ever made that up. That is a massive.
It's something people just say. You know what I mean? It's easy to say.
Yeah. I guess maybe it's catchy, but
it's easy to say. Yes. But it don't.
But the reality of the reality of the situation is that we're either getting better or we're getting worse, right?
Correct.
100. The thing that you're not dealing with, the thing that you're not facing, the elephant in the room, that it's not going away. You can't drink it away. You can't smoke it away. You can't make more money and get it away. You can't, have enough sex to get it away. It's not going anywhere. It's going to sit right there with you. And when you wake up, when you come off the high, when you stop being drunk, whenever you stop having whatever it is, it's going to be sitting right there in your face. Like I say, you still, you know what's going to say? You're still worthless. We still don't care about you. She's just using it for your money. These people don't really like you. It's just going to get right back in your face. So running from it is not going to work. It didn't work for you all these years. It's not going to start working now. You can't run faster. It just doesn't work. It's going to be there. So you have to face it. You have to face. That's where your freedom comes from, right? You've created a jail for yourself based off these things. Your freedom comes when you stand up and recognize, I can walk out the door. I can literally push the door open and walk out. Like, you have the power to do that. So you have to do something. You have to take action, And so it says right here, like, awareness without action only strengthens helplessness. Movement creates nervous system safety. You actually got to do something. Just knowing, you watch our videos and do these things like, yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah. Oh man, they hit it. Oh man, Gordon. Oh man, Keith. That's all well and good. But if you don't do anything with that, then you start making excuses. The inner critic says, yeah, it's good. And that probably works for most men, but it probably won't work for you, because you're different. You have a different problem. You have different issues. You're so unique. That no one in all of history
nobody has the same problems.
Like, and then we believe that, and then we walk away with our head down, thinking like, yeah, you're right. I'm the only person going through this. I'm the only person struggling. It's not the case, man. We're dealing with the exact same thing, and there's a way out. There is freedom. You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to do it alone. Your change can come right now. It doesn't matter how old you are. You're in your teens, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. It's not too late to change and start living life. It's not too late, but you do got to put the work in. And I think that's what's critical, and that's what's important to keep in mind.
This is the big one for me, right? Down here at the bottom. Stop waiting to feel ready. Take that governor off. You've been holding yourself back for so many years in any situation. I'll give you a perfect example. If I waited to start my family instead of taking a chance and doing something about it, I wouldn't have my kids right now. I wouldn't have purpose. I wouldn't have validation. I wouldn't be able to have a second chance at being a dad or anything else like that, right? But understand that stop waiting to feel ready. Nothing's going to be perfect. Nothing ever is going to be perfect. You can make yourself the best version of you to handle all the situations, but it'll never be perfect. And that's what we want to see, because a lot of times, Bacon, I got the pig and the bulldog right by my leg fighting. Jeez. Let's see, it's never perfect. But guys, if you want it to be perfect, I wanted to just let you, take the assessment, scan that code right here, subscribe to us on Boundaries and Brotherhood right here, and get the tools you need to figure out what we got going on. As you can see right here, right, guys? If you can, on you, the guys on TikTok, right? Scan that code, go to Boundaries and Brotherhood on YouTube, and figure out what we can do to help you get to where you need to be, because we have everything in place for you to succeed. And that start is you're the key. You always been the key. You're the pen that writes your own story, and stop being the character in there. Doc, man, we always, this was a pretty damn good one, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
Guys, if you want to know like who are we and what we're all about, right? I want to show you this, right? Let's get this, let's get this thing out. We're Boundaries and Brotherhood. We're a brotherhood that, we believe in having improving self-worth, self-esteem, having emotional mastery, taking accountability for all the things that you do in your life, and to be able to master communication. And those are just some of the subjects we have going on, right? We do have the 7 pillars that might get you on your journey to where you got going on, because this is what Doc is a professional. This is what he does for living. He's clinical. He's a therapist, and he does. And what me and him did was partner up so that you can understand that you can get the help you deserve and need from people from my side of the streets to a professional side of the streets. Right? Does it make sense, Doc?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean,
we can close. We'll close them out now. We'll close them out now.
Doc, this is your show. Like I said, I'm just a supporting character.
So yeah, gentlemen, I hope that this has been helpful to you. I hope that you've taken some of these strategies. Again, if you want the slides, please reach out to us. You can look. You go to our website, go to our social media, our website, our email address is there. We can just let us know. Take the assessment. That way we can not just get you the slides, but also get you the help you need as well. But yeah, guys, you don't have to stay stuck. And again, your worth is not tied to what you do. That's just part of who you are inherently, right? You guys need to start taking that on and owning that and walking in that and recognizing that I don't have to earn love. I don't have to earn respect. Like I already deserve that automatically, right? I already deserve that automatically. It's not something I have to earn or fight for, right? So, and we can talk about, again, there's more to this than that, but this is a phenomenal place for you to start. So yeah, change your life, take the pen back, start authoring your own story. What do you want to be? Who do you want to be? What do you see yourself in 10 years? Like, you get a chance to write that story. Nobody else does. Like, that power has always been in your hand. You just restrict that to say that it's not, it's in everybody else's hand. So,
I'm going to show you, I'm going to show them, in fact, I'm going to show them what the website really looks like, so that they can actually see what is it when they're coming into, right? So if you go over here, guys, if you used to go in here, you can see the website, right, Doc?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna fill out this. You're gonna, you can read all of this stuff. What's gonna happen is you can read some of the testimonies, what you want the purpose, how it works. You're gonna take the assessment. It's gonna take you straight to this Boundaries and Brotherhood assessment. Fill out your name, email, take the assessment. It takes about 3 minutes. We will get back to you. Me and Doc look at that completely every single day, because this is where we're going to help you out one-on-one, single-handedly, and get you in a group where you can have supportive men, not just bash you, but actually support you. We live from business to using tools to getting into things to help you move forward with your life, having a better relationship with your kids, family, wife, intimacy, everything. Because this is what it was built for. This was our first workshop of the year. Look for each one at the end of the month, unless I end up in the hospital or something, like the last one with my appendicitis. But that's going to be a different story. But guys, it's been an honor and a pleasure to serve you guys, because this is what it's all about. Men serving men in the right capacity so that they can be the best version of themselves. And I'm your host. I'm going to close out. I'm Gordon Watt. We'll see you next week.
Yes, we'll see you next week. And also, real quick, yeah, we're not going to bash you. Just want to throw that out there. You come and join us. The goal is not to bash you. The goal is to help reveal what's going on, talk about it in a safe, open place, and then help us to start making progress towards the man we want to be, right? So I just want to, put that out there. But guys, Dr. Keith Fairclough, I'll see y'all next week. Take care. Have a great and blessed week. And we'll see you soon.
And you're never alone, right, Doc?
Yep.
Never alone.
All right, guys. I didn't want to throw that tagline out because I know that's FCS stuff and we're Boundaries and Brotherhood right here. So we'll
you keep that one there. It doesn't matter.
We'll get our own tagline. We'll get our own tagline.
We'll see you guys next week.
All right, y'all. Y'all take care.
Bye.